Coming up on Tech News today, Catherine Hall joins us to talk about the new Canon EOS 5D Mark III. It's got the photographers excited. Also, hackers own the NASA. And we'll tell you why that's not such a bad thing. And mutually assured cyber-terrorism. All that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Friday, March 2nd, 2012. Tech News Today is brought to you by GoToMeeting. Get better connected to the people you depend on for success. For your free 30-day trial, visit GoToMeeting.com, promo code TNT. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Iyaz Akhtar.
I'm Darren Kitchen.
And I'm Jason Howell.
And joining us today, also for our first segment, Catherine Hall, host of TWiT Photo. Welcome, Catherine.
Hey, so happy to be here.
Thanks for joining us today. Our
Thank
top
you.
story today, of course, is the Canon EOS 5D Mark III, right, Sarah?
Yeah, in fact, we had to have Catherine join us for this because as excited as I am about this camera, Catherine is actually planning on getting it because she's a professional photographer and I am not. So, Catherine, what excites you the most? The fact that this new Digic 5 Plus processor is 17 times faster than the processor in the Canon 5D Mark II?
Well, I mean, that's a huge one. But honestly, the biggest thing for me is the lack of, or the improvement in noise and the ISO range. I mean, looking at, let me see the specs here. It goes up to 25. Hold on. Just let me pull it.
It's 22.3 megapixel, full frame, CMOS sensor, which they say has a few new goodies over the Mark II. Gapless micro lens, which lets in more light. The photodiodes themselves are improved. And then it has that on-chip noise reduction functionality, which the Mark II didn't have in the past.
Yeah, so the ISO range going up to 25,600, that's crazy. I mean, that's huge. And I shoot in low light a lot. And so having that increased ISO and then also just the noise reduction with the increased ISO, that in itself made it want to buy it, and just not including everything else. The frames per second going up from 3.9 to 6 was also a huge one for me. The HDR feature, gimmicky but cool, I would say, having that built-in camera, so we're not having to merge in Photoshop. And those would actually be the main ones. Obviously, staying full frame, which is good. I know the D800 came up with more megapixels, but quite frankly, like 22, I mean, I don't need more than that. And I think at that point, the files just get too big and unyieldy.
I think that's something that people who aren't professional photographers might say, well, the D800, which is the Nikon, I think what you could consider the Mark III's closest competitor, which came out recently, has 36 megapixels to the Mark III's 22. But you're saying it's more all of these other things that go into the camera rather than megapixels themselves. It's just a number.
Yeah, I mean, I would much rather the image quality be improved, the processor speed be quicker, the noise reduction be down. All of those things are all key features that I'm looking for. Megapixels, I was actually glad it wasn't more than it is because, quite frankly, my file sizes, I certainly don't need more than what they are at this time. So, I mean, it just depends on what your needs are. But if I was really needing huge files, then I would just upgrade to the 1DX. So it's, I don't know, I'm stoked about it. I'm very, very, very excited. It's been a long time coming.
Now, I know that you don't do a whole lot of video. You're obviously a still photo professional, but I know that the Mark III has tried to figure out how to make video better for everybody who's going to do both. They've added a dedicated video capture / live view button. That was something on the Mark II that confused a lot of people. Also, the camera now automatically will begin a new file when a file hits that 4 gigabyte limit, which is something that is going to be a lot more helpful for somebody who wants to shoot a longer period of time. There's now a headphone jack if you're wanting to listen to audio, built-in microphone plus an audio hookup if you've got an external setup. And then 1080p footage can be shot at 24, 25, 30 frames per second, and a new 720p mode that offers either 50 or 60 frames per second. Does that excite you? Does it make you want to play around anymore?
Oh, yeah, it definitely does. I mean, the 5D Mark II, the video functionality was a little bit clumsy. And I mean, actually, one feature that I would say excites me the most is having the longest clip go from 12 minutes to 29 minutes. And that's huge. So I think just the fluidity of it's better. So I feel like the Mark II, while I love it and it's beautiful, and I have done some video on it, it was sort of archaic. It didn't feel, there was no fluidity to it. And I think that they've solved a lot of those problems. And I know Canon is actually really investing in the moving picture industry. They've actually just opened up a studio or a place in Hollywood. And so they're focusing a lot on video, and a lot of their explorers of lights, they're really focusing on people that are doing directors of photography and in the film industry. So I expect that the video functionalities of these cameras to keep getting improving with time. So I'm excited about what they've done with this as well.
You know, when the 5D Mark II came out, I think it was 2008, it was a really big deal. It was doing stuff. It had introduced things to a prosumer camera that nobody had ever seen before. But then again, 2008 seems like a long time ago now. I know that for still photography, the autofocus feature now has 61-point autofocus system, which is up from just 9 in the Mark II. I don't know how much you're using autofocus on your own photos, but that seems like a huge improvement.
Well, what I'm actually hoping for more than the actual function, the focus points, is them actually working. And what I mean by that is there's been a lot of buzz about the autofocus function being a lot better with the Mark III. And what I found with the 5D Mark II, especially with certain lenses that like the 85-1.2, you literally could not focus on it unless you were using the center focus point. So it doesn't really matter if you have a million focus points if only one actually works. So I would have to focus and then reframe. So I'm more excited about it actually working versus there being more of them.
You've already got offers in the chat room to buy your Mark II, by the way.
I'm getting a lot of that. Every photographer needs a backup.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I guess that's a good deal for people who are like, I don't have $3,500 for this Mark III. I maybe don't even have $3,000 for the Nikon equivalent, if you want to call it that, the D800. But next week, that Mark II is going to come down significantly in price, and Canon has said so.
It should.
Yeah. And I think, too, going on that, before we move on, if I was an amateur or an aspiring pro or just getting into photography, unless you're doing a lot of low light stuff or you really want to focus on video, I would certainly go for the 5D Mark II. It is a beautiful camera. I've been using it for the last 4 years. The price, I mean, even if you buy it now before the price jumped down, it's 40% less than the Mark III. And if I could get away with it as a professional, I think it's a pretty darn good camera. So I would say new photographers out there, big enthusiasts, go for that Mark II, unless you're using a lot of video or shooting in low light situations.
Great advice. Thank you so much, Catherine, for joining us and giving us your insight to this. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks,
Catherine Hall, co-host of TWiT Photo. You can find her right here on the TWiT Network every Tuesday, right before TNT. They start at 1 o'clock right here on twit.tv. And, of course, you can always get the episodes at twit.tv/photo. Let's move on to the Aereo service. That's the local TV streaming service from Barry Diller. They finally got sued, huh?
Yeah, you knew this was coming. Aereo just got it's subject to two lawsuits right now. They're separated by kind of broadcasters and local. Here's what's going on. If you forgot what Aereo is, what they do is they use tiny over-the-air antennas combined with a cloud DVR, and it's very limited to New York IP addresses. So the idea is they just move over-the-air video over to your internet connection. So we have ABC, CBS, and NBC, amongst others. They're suing over copyright infringement, saying Aereo is not paying to rebroadcast. Aereo has no rights under any license or statute to any of the programming, and that is copyright infringement. The second case is filed by PBS, Fox, Univision, a whole bunch of other local things.
That's interesting. NBC is filing one and Univision is the other. They're both part of Comcast, right?
I don't remember if Univision. I think Telemundo is under there, but I'm mixing them up. Anyway, what they wanted to do in the second case is they wanted to block the Aereo service. They want to get damages. They want to make sure that they get lawyer fees and all this other stuff. But Aereo, they went ahead and put up a nice notice on their webpage saying, quote, Aereo does not believe that the broadcaster's position has any merit, and it very much looks forward to a full and fair airing of these issues. And the thing is, they pretty much are relying on this old case from Cablevision. Ars Technica talked to a copyright scholar at New York Law School who said that Aereo has, quote, a non-laughable case, and he compared the situation to the Cablevision remote DVR case, which hinged on whether Cablevision, which had a cloud DVR kind of setup, stored individual recordings for each customer, and they did, so Cablevision won. So this seems like this battle had to happen. We're going to see it happen, and now we're going to see if Aereo, if they can survive these two lawsuits, if they would bother to expand to other places. Because if they get shut down here, then they're probably not going to bother to expand. But considering they have Barry Diller, they have some serious money in here, they look like they're ready to fight. So this could be a nice set of cases.
You're right about Telemundo, by the way.
Do you think they're launching in New York because it's easier for them to fight the battle in those courts?
I don't know if New York's particularly friendly when it comes to that thing. I don't know why they picked New York from what I've read.
Barry Diller's IAC is located there. That's where they have their headquarters. That's my guess. It's probably as simple
something
as
similar
that.
actually happened in the Bay Area, though. A Sunnyvale company, Zadiva, back in 2008 launched, and they had kind of similar to the Comcast, or not Comcast, the Cablevision thing, where it's like, oh, we're just a really long extension cord, except for them, it was DVD players.
Zadiva did that thing where each customer had access to one DVD player and one DVD, and that was being sent directly to that customer. And I can't remember what exactly. Only the difference between these two is that Zadiva was doing it anywhere in the country, or internet connection. What Aereo does that's different is it's very, very regionally locked. So you're getting New York stations that are over the air being sent to a New York IP address. They also check your billing address to see if you're even there.
This is awesome.
It's very, very locked down. So it's not the same kind of thing where they are rebroadcasting to everywhere around the world, not even everywhere in the United States. It's somebody with a New York City IP address and billing address.
For $12 a month, I could VPN tunnel to New York and watch the Mets games.
Do you have a billing address there? You can get one, I guess.
Actually, I do. Earthclassmail.com.
Is New York City a good candidate for this because maybe people have an issue just getting OTA signals anyway?
That's a great
example. That's another good reason.
That's a great reason because now with the digital transition, even though it's supposed to be better with different transmission towers, you still need a better line of sight. And if you're building, or like your apartment's facing the wrong location, you're going to miss out on like half of this stuff. So this is a lot of people wonder like, why would you pay $12 for something you can get for free? You might not be able to
for free. Then $12 doesn't seem like that much.
Then all the ABCs and the Univisions of the world just need to fly a big blimp in front of their headquarters. Like,
just constantly block.
Yeah. I mean, if life were a
just
cartoon.
Go jam the mini antenna. I think the key here is that there is one piece of infrastructure providing a signal to a customer versus Zadiva or the hotel on-demand cases where they were taking multiple DVDs. And granted, Zadiva was saying, well, only one person can watch this copy of the DVD at a time. But then it went back on the shelf and could be watched by someone else. So in some very loose way, you can make an argument about that being broadcasting because more than one person is watching the same DVD. With Barry Diller, he's been very good about saying, look, all we're doing is exactly the same thing Cablevision did. Cablevision won in court. We're providing a DVR to individual people, individual files no one else can access, and then we're putting an antenna on it. What's wrong with putting an antenna on it? We're putting an antenna on for every single person. It's not even sharing a signal, and we're geofencing it. We're not going to allow somebody in San Francisco to watch the New York stations, unless they've got some hacker knowledge.
So what do you think?
But they're doing reasonable efforts to prevent you from watching outside of the region.
If you had an apartment in New York, Tom, you could set this up very easily with an antenna and a TV tuner card and a little bit of FFmpeg or VLC could do it, and then you'd be able to get access to it. You wouldn't get sued.
Yeah, exactly. And
I'd pay you $12 just to access it.
That's why I think James Grimmelman's right that this is not a laughable case. Aereo could come out of this, and this is the kind of case that eventually looks ridiculous down the road, right? When we're like, why did they have to do hundreds of antennas? That's stupid. But if they win the case and they're able to create the business, they pave the way for people, 10 years down the road to realize, that's kind of stupid. We need to change the law to allow them not to have to use thousands of antenna.
Kind of reminds me of the Google Music thing where you would upload your own copy. You'd have one individual copy of your song. It wasn't like Google was hosting one track that everyone was streaming. I mean, this idea of going it's redundant, and it seems a little stupid that you need hundreds of antennas to do this instead of like hundreds of tuners, right? But if you can lock it down 1 to 1 to 1 to 1, that whole thing, that should theoretically work.
That's just a conspiracy from the hard drive industry trying to sell more disks to Google.
Well, you know, and iCloud, Apple's been able to go, look, it's silly to make you upload multiple copies of this. I know you've had lawsuits with MP3 Tunes and Michael Robertson about all this. Let us, you trust us, right? We're Apple. Let us do matching and only host one copy of this, please. And the industry went along with it. But it took those lawsuits and getting through them and years of pain and agony to get to that point. All right, time for some rumor mill. You know this is going to just keep coming at us until next Wednesday.
And even after that.
Always after that, but the intensity always builds.
These are when Apple rumors are strongest.
Now, the biggest Apple rumor that I'm interested in today actually has nothing to do with the iPad directly. The New York Post reporting Eddie Q is out negotiating with television networks to launch an Apple TV service by the holidays, according to the New York Post. We've heard lots of rumors about a possible Apple television service. This is the latest one. One source described Apple's stance as, quote, "We decide the price, we decide what content." Which is the New York Post also notes that the networks aren't terribly enthusiastic about this plan. Another unnamed media executive claimed they want everything for nothing. And apparently they're trying to convince the cable industry to allow Apple to provide set-top boxes. They're still pressing forward with AT&T and Verizon. They haven't been welcomed by most of the other cable operators. GigaOM looked at the New York Post story, and they did a good article interpreting all of the various quotes, all of the various assertions, and said it looks like Apple just wants to do what they always do, which is provide channels as apps, maybe bundle them together in a service like iTunes, and then take their cut and pass it along to the consumer. Whether it's a per month service like iCloud, or whether it's just an in-app subscription, or whether it's just selling an app directly, that seems to be what Apple's proposing here. And of course, the industry isn't comfortable with that because they're used to dictating the terms, and Apple is used to dictating the terms.
Well, I'm sure Apple, first of all, I can think of a variety of media companies who are offering video in the form of apps that I can download on my iPad, either for free or for some sort of subscription fee. And Apple's looking at these same companies and going, well, they've got apps on, let's say, the Roku. Let's beef up our Apple TV offering. And then people can watch this on their, in their whatever their media center is. It makes perfect sense. Yeah, and Apple's saying, "But don't you want this? You're just going to get out in front of more people."
And the industry's doing what they're always doing, saying, "Well, that's different. That's a different device. We want to charge more money if you put it on an actual television," which, I mean, that's exactly what they do with Hulu and Hulu Plus.
This reminds me of all those keynotes where you'd hear the amount of credit cards that are attached to iTunes. And the idea is it's really easy to have an in-app purchase or go, I'm going to subscribe to this because you can just have that one click. I'm thinking that, I mean, obviously the content companies and the networks want to have 100% of the revenues, like, I don't know, like a Netflix or Amazon, the way it works now, because you can't do in-app purchases. But I mean, Apple's probably trying to convince them, look, people are going to click that button. You're going to have a lot more subscribers if you just let us do our newsstand style stuff, because it's so easy to go, oh, a season pass to ABC. It's something that I really think, I hope one day we'll probably see apps this way. Because you can get television a la carte, finally. Because I want to buy AMC directly.
Yeah. Also, according to Ars Technica, they have tracked 365 visits from a device with a screen resolution of 2048 by 1536. They're guessing that must be the new iPad, because it's the only thing rumored to have that resolution that would explain that number of hits. I guess some medical scanners have that resolution of a screen, but not too many people are surfing Ars Technica on the medical scanner, at least not 365 page views worth. They also noticed some hits to their server of something running what looks like iOS 6. Nobody expects a new iOS announcement, except maybe an iOS 5.1, like an incremental one. Yeah. But it looks like Apple might be testing out iOS 6 already.
Well, are you surprised by that?
Not shocked.
No, that's clearly the next number. Of course they're thinking ahead. I think next Wednesday we'll see some great improvements that you'll get pushed out later today for iOS 5. But
I think you're miscounting how many misconfigured x11.confs could be responsible for this crazy resolution. I mean, have you ever tried to configure that?
Frequently. No.
Crickets.
I just did this morning. It's hard.
That's my GNU love.
Yeah. There's all kinds of alternative explanations. But I think the likely explanation is that it probably is Apple saying, "Oh, you know what? We should mess around on this
testing those?
iPad before next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Let's try it on the public
You know the thing
internet.
we're about to sell?
Yeah.
Let's make sure it goes on the web.
Other rumors out there, iPad HD might be the name of the iPad. There's still lots of rumors that a new Apple TV, maybe not an actual television set, but at least a new set-top box is probably going to be announced because Apple TVs have disappeared from the shelves.
Not only that, but if the iPad resolution is bumped up enough and they want to offer something from, if you buy a movie or you rent a movie from iTunes and it looks really nice on your iPad, and then you use AirPlay to send it to your TV through Apple TV, you need all those devices to also look good.
Yeah. I can see them saying, we don't want to call it the iPad 3. That just seems weird. Let's call it something fun. We got a Retina display. Let's call it iPad HD. So I could see that happening. I think you'll get a Retina display. I think it's going to look similar to the iPad 2. I think it's going to come with Siri. They'll probably have to improve the camera. And I think it's going to go up for pre-order. Everybody's saying, it might go up for sale this Friday. I think it'll go up for pre-order this Friday and then be available in stores March 16th, which is the following Friday.
Back to the Apple TV rumors. I'm trying to look this up. I'm trying to see if this is right. I don't think the Apple TV does 1080p video playback. And if you can get 1080p video on the iPad 3 and it's HD, it would make sense that you need another box or at least an upgrade. And
but it's Apple. They can spin it any way.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not disputing that.
A5X
but Apple has done things like that where they're like, no, 720p is what you want from an Apple TV. But you're right. I mean, for lots of reasons.
And why they would go together.
Yeah. Exactly. All right, let's take a quick break and thank our sponsor, GoToMeeting. If you want to be able to look folks deep into their eyes while you're conferencing with them.
Give them the stink eye when they get something wrong.
Maybe stink eye, maybe a love eye when they get something right.
Oh.
Is that a thing?
It is now.
Well,
Let's
make it one.
I think it's a loving
look. Using GoToMeeting HD. That's why we recommend it. Not because it's going to give you a scary big head like I got in our video version right now.
Is that your stink eye or your love eye?
But because
you can't tell the difference.
Seriously, when you're having these teleconferences, you want to be able to read the nonverbal language. You want to be able to show people, speak with your hands, and do all that kind of stuff. That's why you want GoToMeeting with HD Faces by Citrix. It's a simple online meeting service, just like all the GoToMeeting services, but it's got group HD video. So you can get better connected to the people you depend on for success. All you need is your webcam, the ability to click, internet connection, obviously, and you can see attendees eye to eye. Well, you need eyes while collaborating on documents in real time. Helps build trust, confidence, and makes meetings more effective. And it's so easy to set up or use. It works on a Mac. It works on a PC. Easy for anybody to join your conference. So use it for whatever you need. Training sessions, weekly status meetings, product reviews. Start hosting your own face-to-face online meetings today with GoToMeeting. Try it for free. 30 days. Visit GoToMeeting.com, GoToMeeting.com, and click on the Try It Free button and enter this secret promo code. Look into my eyes, and I will tell it to you with my eyes. Okay, that didn't work, especially for the audio people. It's TNT. Promo code TNT, GoToMeeting.com. We thank them for their support of Tech News Today. On to Yelp's IPO. The stock launched today. It was IPO'd at $15 a share, immediately rocketed up above $20 a share. In fact, it peaked at $25.97, closed at $24.58. So what does that make? They're now worth $1.47 billion.
Well, Yelp is one of those companies that has an extremely loyal user base. I can see a lot of people wanting to have a piece of it. Then again, I can think back to last June when Pandora IPO'd. Their stock rose, and now it's trading at lower than it started by quite a bit. Actually, I think it's down about 15%. So I think that this is a really common trend for a company that's hot, internet company.
Good spike.
Yeah, you see a good spike. I'd like to see where it is in a couple months.
Yeah, where's Groupon now, right?
Right.
I mean, that is something to keep an eye on. I checked, by the way, the Yelp review of the New York Stock Exchange, still holding steady at 4 stars. So if you want to go visit, they have a nice museum, apparently. You can check it out at Yelp.com. Got lots of hacker news. Good thing you're here, Darren.
Woohoo!
NASA Inspector General Paul K. Martin told the House Committee on Science, Space, and Technology, the Subcommittee on Science, Space, and Technology, in a statement that in 2011, last year, hackers took over the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, the JPL, and compromised computer accounts of the most privileged JPL users, giving them full system access. The attack involved Chinese IP addresses. 5,408 computer security incidents occurred between 2010 and 2011. But they've made significant progress to protect the agency's IT systems. That part wasn't detailed, at least in the story I read.
Yeah, well, what you've got to realize, though, is that NASA should be proud of this. I mean, this is like showing you, like, NASA, if you thought that people were not interested in what you're doing, not interested in space anymore, you got to remember that, like, you guys are where all hackers go to cut their teeth because you've got such a great network.
Well, and they said some of these things are people just proving what they can do. Some of these people are malicious and trying to get, spy, get information from us. The investigations they've done into these hacks have resulted in arrests and convictions in China, Great Britain, Italy, Nigeria, Portugal, Romania, Turkey, and Estonia. So they have gone out and found some of these folks as well.
That's good, for those that are like getting in and doing something malicious. But I can't tell you, like when I hear the words hack and NASA together, I'm always just thinking of like
it's just a glamorous target.
Yeah, just glamorous hacker youth. That's what you go after because they're cool. So I don't know, and never mind.
Of course, we talked about the lost. Also in this statement was about the lost laptops from NASA that we talked about yesterday, where they're not encrypting certain control functions for things like the International Space Station.
Yeah, but that's just them, getting documents that teach them how to, if they were like a control operator or,
if they could get themselves to the International Space Station.
Yes.
They could take it over.
That would be a good hack.
Yeah, that's a serious hack. That's committing to the hack. RSA conference was happening this week. Darren, you were there.
Yes.
Lots of things happened. Lots of stories came out of it.
If you were looking for like PCI compliance management, trust model infrastructure with on-demand real-time network analysis, data monitoring, compliance activity, then that's the conference for you, management.
What?
Yeah. It's not a hacker con.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, it's not, but it's a security con.
But it was a security con. I went.
Was it very corporate and uninteresting?
I did get to talk to some people at Breaking Point about some $1 million awesome racks that simulate the internet. Yeah, they had nice racks, and they did quadrillion gigabits per second of simulated internet traffic. That was kind of cool. On the high level, I'm never going to ever afford this kind of thing. And then on the other consumer side, or consumer and business side, I think Yubico, they was showing off the new YubiKey. It was really cute. It goes straight into the USB port and it's all flush and cool.
You have to use tweezers to get it out, right?
You have to use tweezers, yeah. They've got an NFC one finally, so if you've got like an Android phone with NFC, you could hold your
like the Nexus
YubiKey to the phone and then unlock your thing, which is kind of a pain right now. Like I use a YubiKey to log into hack5.org, but I can't log in over my phone because I can't plug my, So that was kind of cool. But yeah, not a whole lot otherwise as far as like what when I think like hacker audience, but also some interesting stuff coming out of the FBI, like FBI Director Robert Mueller making a statement saying that they anticipate that cyber threat will pose the greatest threat to our country. And that how the FBI now has dedicated cybersecurity squads in over, in all of their branch offices with over 1,000 agents and analysts and stuff. And he was basically just getting up there advocating how Congress should enact stiffer disclosure rules for like breached businesses because
corporations, they don't want to tell the government anything for fear of regulation and or investigation.
We didn't get hacked. Tell them we got hacked.
Don't tell them anything.
Yeah.
But if they do cooperate with the NSA, it can help everybody.
Yeah.
And he said something not funny, but he said something. He's like, basically, there are two types of companies these days: the ones who have been hacked and the ones who are about to get hacked again.
Actually, and then moreover, he was saying that, and that's slowly becoming those that have been. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I went right to the second one.
To the yes. Yeah. But yes, that's basically how it is. Yeah. And I thought some of the more interesting stuff actually coming out of RSA was this disclosure of a mobility program, which is a specification for, get this, building using an inexpensive Android phone, a device that complies with the NSA's agency's InfoSec rules, meaning they have this like ridiculously strict rules on you can't talk about a top secret project over a phone or a landline unencrypted. You have to talk in code and stuff like that.
Makes sense. They're the National Security Agency after all.
But if your device meets a certain set of requirements, then you can go ahead and speak willy-nilly. Well, they were able to, just using consumer off-the-shelf stuff, put together the specification where if you have a compatible Android phone and can run these programs, it gets some policing programs, they've got some other, they actually have an app store, which I found the most interesting. The, what was it? You can install apps from the U.S., Defense Information Systems Agency, who has their own defense.
Only if you're part of the NSA.
Yeah, only if you're there. Yeah.
But you could build the type of security they have yourself. I mean, it's all off-the-shelf parts. That's what I found.
Yeah, that was the coolest thing. And that fact that the paper is published, it's all over at nsa.gov, and you can find out how to build your own secure VPN using it. We may do this on Hack 5 because it just sounds fascinating. Basically, for the really geeky, they implement secure voice communications by using the SRTP, or Secure Real-Time Transport Protocol. And then they put that over a typical VPN tunnel using IPsec, or Internet Protocol Security. So basically, they double encrypt the voice, and if either layer of the encryption fails, then it's not going through, and you know, then you're not talking top secret.
It's onion layers of, not like the onion router, but you got layers of security.
Layers of security. It's good stuff.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the news feed. Apple's out there touting that it has created over 500,000 jobs in the United States. According to its own estimates, Apple created or supported 514,000 jobs. 210,000 of those are iOS app economy jobs, so not directly employed by Apple. No word on how many jobs were created for churning out Apple rumor posts, though, but it seems to be high.
Wow, I would hate to look at that cron tab.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's patent roar? I couldn't help myself.
Nice commitment.
I'm sorry. A German court had enough of Apple and Samsung recently and dismissed a couple lawsuits the two had filed against each other. Samsung sued Apple over 3G patents. Apple sued Samsung over the unlock screen. A Samsung rep said the company will appeal, and I think that those two should get a room already. A courtroom, because apparently they can't stop.
They've booked them forever. Metro PCS and Verizon will have their case against the FCC's net neutrality rules heard in the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. The FCC released its rules back in December 2010, and it set up separate rules that would apply to wireline and wireless internet providers, but both would have to provide something called transparency. And apparently these two don't want to do that.
Google's being sued, and it's not by Apple. No, it's by a man. It's by a man because the Google Street View camera snapped a pic of him, his fellow, urinating in his front yard. And, well, you see, the gentleman says that he's become the laughingstock of his village in France, and he's requesting 10,000 euros.
So every time he walks by, everyone thinks of that Google Street View picture and goes, ho, ho, ho.
Oh, yeah, 10,000 euros. Think of how you could piss that away at the bar.
Ba-ding-ching. I think we may be going in circles because we're back at the rumor mill again.
Wait, you know that mill?
I feel weird playing this twice
love
in
this
one
mill.
episode.
Someone from Samsung, hey, it's not an Apple rumor, has confirmed with ZDNet Korea that the Galaxy S3 is coming in April. Yeah, forget all this iPad crap. Let's talk about the Samsung Galaxy S3. The unnamed Samsung worker did not bother to give any specs, but the prevailing thought is the phone will ship in the UK first as part of Samsung's sponsorship of the London Olympics. Summer Olympics coming this year.
Bitcoins may be laughed at by some as real currency, but they certainly are attractive to thieves because people keep stealing them. Ars Technica reports that thieves took 46,703 Bitcoins worth about $228,845 after exploiting a vulnerability in a widely used web host that gave access to 8 victims' digital wallets. More than 43,000 of the stolen coins belong to a Bitcoin trading platform called Bitcoinica. Another 3,094 Bitcoins were stolen from Marek Palatinas, a freelance programmer from the Czech Republic. I'm sorry, Marek.
Scandinavians are cementing their reputation for high-speed internet this April. The Gathering LAN party wants to take back the world record for the fastest internet connection by bringing 200 gigabits per second access to the Vikings. What is this?
Vikingskapet.
Yes, that thing.
Or
Olympic
like
arena in Hammer, Norway. The Swedish Dreamhack party stole the title from the Gathering in November with a 120 gigabit per second connection. Cisco, Huawei, Level 3, and ISP Altibox, that's what it says, are all helping provide the infrastructure. 200 gigabits per second.
Wow.
Wow.
Do you know the Muffin Man? I mean, do you know who uses Google Wallet?
Muffin
That's what I
Man.
meant to say.
Man?
Yes. Well,
Only the Muffin Man.
soon the answer is likely going to be Sprint customers because the LG Viper is coming out this spring, and it leads the way of a parade of 10 Sprint phones that'll feature Google Wallet. So that's the wireless payment service that lets you pay for items by using your phone and the NFC chip. Now, the Google Wallet previously had only appeared on the Nexus S and the Google Nexus up until now.
With the new version of Windows coming, the guessing game begins on how many versions of Windows 8 there will be. There were 6 versions of Windows 7 by most ways of counting, and it looks like all those are going to return, plus maybe 2 more. The blog Windows 8 Beta uncovered references to 8 versions of Windows in the consumer preview Windows 8 registry. The 2 new ones are Enterprise Eval, which probably doesn't count because it's probably just going to be a free trial version, but also Professional Plus, which sounds a lot like Office 2010 Pro Plus. So there may be an extra, I don't know, SharePoint integrated Windows 8 version coming along.
It's got extra themes like the old Windows 95 Plus.
Windows 98
I'm still holding off for Windows for MIPS.
Yeah, believe me, there's just going to be more versions of Windows. Let's check the randomizer. Is there anything in there?
Yeah, let me dig through here and find something.
There are a lot of numbers.
Oh my gosh, it's a vigilante. It's not Bernard Goetz, though.
It's the Batman.
It's a man from Philadelphia who admits to local television station NBC 10 that he, in fact, jams cell phones on the 44 bus because he can't stand people talking on their phones on the bus.
Like Strawberry?
Huh?
He jams
He jams the phones. Winner.
Raspberry.
No, what does he use? Does it say here in the story?
No, he just uses one. I mean, they show a photo of it in the news bit, and it's just one of those that you can get from overseas, you know? They send it to you in parts, and you have to assemble it together, and then you're committing the crime by assembling it, not the seller that sent it to you in pieces.
I kind of love him because I also hate loud yappers on, well, any kind of public transportation. That said, if I saw this report and I was like, I know him, he's the reason that I couldn't call my mom, wish her happy birthday in the 5 minutes that I had on the bus, I'd be really upset.
I want to go to movies with this guy.
Oh, wow. They're only...
Yes.
That's what I want. Although I guess people would keep checking, though. I guess during the course of the movie.
You know what? Check silently. That's fine. Do whatever
But
you
they
got
might
to do
realize they have
silently.
no connection. They're
Although
like,
in a
forget
movie,
it.
it's annoying because then you see the glare of the... Just stop.
Well, maybe he'll buy the speech jammer from Japan when that comes out. Just actually shut down in progress conversations, whether you're on a cell phone or not.
Yeah, because
I just don't like what you're saying.
I just love how it's like funny when this guy does it, but it's not when Bart does. Just saying.
Well, they blocked the entire internet.
Yeah.
That's different than just blocking like a bus.
Blocking CDMA, GSM, PHS, 3G.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
OP.
This guy should be occupied. Let's put it on the calendar.
What would you go about?
How do I come back from that? Samsung Rugby Smart is going to AT&T on Sunday the 4th for $100. It's waterproof, meaning that it can be submerged for up to 30 minutes in 1 meter of water. Yes, but it's still running gingerbread and has a single-core 1.4 gigahertz Snapdragon.
Soggy gingerbread.
Well, tit for tat.
What's waterproof gingerbread?
Yeah, it's waterproof gingerbread, which
That's
is
kinda gingerbread.
which is pretty cool. All right, Tuesday, March 6th, the CeBIT conference begins in Hanover, Germany. Runs through the 10th. This year's big themes are big data, cloud computing, mobility, social, and managing trust. And finally, to round out the calendar, Darren, because you're here, I want you to talk about what's going on with Hack 5 on May 3rd.
Hack 5, May 3rd, episode 1111. Season 11, episode 11. That's 1111, or if you hold down shift, that's exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point.
No, that's only 3.
So get yourself to the Bay Area.
Hack5.org/1111.
HAK5.org.
Fun.
Don't hit shift.
Hey, we have emails.
Incoming message.
Thank you,
We like
Worf.
to call them incoming messages.
Ari from Finland wrote us an incoming message about unlimited data plans, how they work in Finland, and points out that there they price plans by the speed, not by the data cap. So, for instance, the cheap plans limit speed to around 512 kilobits per second. That costs around €5 per month. Unthrottled, high-speed LTE connections cost around €40 a month. He thinks this is a better way to price plans than metering data and selling everyone full-speed connections. Many people will use phone for email, using social networks, IM, checking news sites, so speed's not critical. On the other hand, there are people who want to use it for high-speed critical services like video streaming. What do you guys think? I mean, that €40, that's probably about $60. So that's pricier than most of our data connections.
As much as I want everything to be fair and balanced, I'm
still
also that guy that'll just be like, whatever, what's the fastest with the most data? I'm buying that.
Okay, it's more like $52, but it's still.
Yeah.
That's more.
Do you think that would solve the issue of congestion on the carriers' networks if you sold it by speed? I mean, that's not solving it for landlines. They're selling by speed already.
I think rolling out more equipment at the towers would probably solve
But they
the
have to
problem
make the
most.
money to roll out the equipment.
They've already got the money. They just aren't spending it.
They need more of your money.
Oh, of course they do.
Because it takes money to make money.
Well, I do know that.
So they need more of your money so they can make more money.
Okay, I got that. They don't want to spend any. Yes.
That's kind of the logic going on.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah.
I actually did a blog post today. I think carriers should do the fast track model, the fast pass, where you're never limited on your speed or your data. The data caps have been proven not to really do anything to alleviate congestion. So instead, right now everybody's naturally throttled when there's a lot of people trying to use the network. You leave that the way it is. So if you don't pay anything extra, it's nothing. But you can buy priority.
Like so a second network?
So that essentially if the network is congested, your packets get prioritized if you buy the FastPass tier.
If in the case of FastPass, which is like the Bay Area transit system, you actually pay less to be part of FastPass because I pay $1 less every time I go across the bridge because I have a FastPass.
But that's because they're trying to get people to use that to alleviate the congestion.
Yeah.
So I guess you get a bonus for using
So you're
less.
saying,
I'm
like
almost
this
like
idea.
an
I don't think
adopter.
that's a good meat-based
You pay
analogy.
less to get your packets prioritized. I like that.
Well, because how would you do that? You would build a second network that's only being used by the people that are paying for it, and then everyone pays for it, and then that one becomes congested.
You don't have to build a second network. You just prioritize that connection above the others.
That's
right now they're throttling people who are their best customers. This way, you're
throttling
actually
happens naturally.
prioritizing
And I'm fine with that.
your best customers. Yeah. Well, the throttling AT&T is doing is not natural. So instead of doing that, you just say everybody's on an even playing ground except for the FastPass customers. And all their bits get prioritized because they pay extra. I know everybody's first reaction is, I don't like someone being able to pay to get in front of me in line.
Yeah.
That's the
Have you ever been
emotional
to Disneyland
reaction.
where people do that?
Exactly. That's the same.
What about that clear thing at airports?
That's
I mean,
that same idea.
It is worth it for people. Not everybody.
Actually, I do like the line at the airport. The I know what I'm doing line. Like, I know to take my belt off before I even get up there line. That one's good.
That's a line?
Yeah. You guys
like,
not seen
are
this?
you an idiot?
Yeah, there's
line.
like an expert
Have
traveler
you been on
line.
an airplane before? Get in this line.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a net neutrality violation because all the bits are being treated the same. You're not saying video gets served in front of something else.
How would you do that? Would you create like a
quality of service?
Would you do like a peering thing where you like route them through less hops through the network and you have like a direct line where like otherwise you'd have to do like 3 hops and then we'll just the router will shoot you that way.
I mean, yeah. Now I'm getting out of. I'm not enough of a network
that's my problem.
administrator.
Whenever I think about net neutrality, I think of it in the mindset of a network administrator, and that's why I always get upset.
But you can always manage quality of service. You can give people priority. I know you can give connections priority over others.
My packets should not be sitting in the back of the bus. I'm just saying.
Well, then give us a little extra money. We'll make sure they go to the front. It's like first class and coach.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
I don't know. Maybe it's a horrible idea, but it occurred to me in the shower, so thought I'd throw it out there.
Did you write it down on your iPad?
I was close.
You should try. Go for it. I'm voting for Jay Armstrong.
You just think about whatever you want in the shower. It's fine. Yesterday, we requested if anyone was an engineer, they could shed a little bit of light on mobile spectrum and data charges. And Jay Armstrong did just that. He wrote in and he said he posted some recent links on the issue to our TWiT wiki back in December. That was episode 330. So if you go back to This Week in Tech, that show, number 330, he also linked an audio recording where he's discussed spectral efficiency correlated to capacity theorem. So he says, as you can infer, as much as I'd love for phone companies to be entirely BSing with upping data rates, it is a real concern, likely not nearly as much of a concern as they are charging us for, and certainly not enough of a concern for app, OS, and hardware developers, something to consider. Thanks, Jay.
Yeah, and I've got in touch with Jay. I asked him a few other questions, so hopefully he'll be able to get back to us with a few more answers. That'd be cool.
Last email from Fez in Montreal. Hey, all seeing all the discussion over how new high-end phones seem to be getting bigger and bigger, I thought I'd shed some more light on why. The screen size is generally not a design goal as a result of a consumer response. It is a symptom/side effect of other design issues. What I mean is that the new high-end system on the chips and tech like LTE are not only battery hogs, they take up more physical space. That means more room is needed to fit everything in and add in the need for bigger batteries and a desire for thin devices. The only solution is a larger footprint and thus bigger screens. So we should expect future devices that use current tech to get smaller, but the bleeding edge will remain oversized for good or ill.
Okay, I I think this is a good point. I don't know if this is why they're doing it, but it could be a very sneaky way of saying, see, cool new screens. We had to do it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, that seems a little silly. If you're stuck with a smaller screen, you can have still a large battery in there, and it can power that screen for a longer time. I know with AMOLED, it's more power efficient, so you can get away with that. But with the LCD they still are battery hogs. So even if you have a large phone...
Dude, yeah, but look at the battery, man. This thing is 2,500 milliamp hours, which on a regular phone would be like sticking out the back with one of those crazy backpacks, you know?
It's thin.
Yeah, actually, this thing is.
It's a pretty shallow.
They could have given you like more bezel, right? I mean,
small
if they wanted
profile.
If they wanted to give
it's
like
only
a 4,
for making shallow phone calls.
That's a 5.3, right? Not a 4.
This is a 5.3. Yeah, I really want a 6.5.
I bet you could put a 4.7 in there and it would be okay.
Phone.
What are you doing?
Probably. I'm putting
He's
it back
putting
on.
it back
Oh.
on.
Yeah.
It just clacks together.
It's a clicky back.
I was looking at your screen going crazy as you were doing that. I was like,
Yep.
he's trying to kill the LCD. All right, that's it for this episode of Tech News Today. Thank you, Darren, for joining us as you do every Friday.
Love to be here.
What's going on over there at the Hack 5, besides the party?
Are you interested in encrypting the root partition on your Backtrack 5 box? Well, you should tune in because you'll find out. Also, we have an awesome piece on Ubuntu 12.04. And with the beta that just came out like the other day. So you should check it out. It's got the new HUD.
HAK5.org.
Woohoo!
Thanks again to Catherine Hall, host of Twit Photo, twit.tv/photo. And thanks to all of you in our subreddit, technewstoday.reddit.com, for submitting stories for our consideration. And for those who vote just as much, if not more, for saying, hey, I like this one too, helps us decide what stories we cover every day on Tech News Today. That's it for us. Twit.tv/TNT is the universal resource locator you can use to find all of the information about our show on the internet-worked series of tubes. You can also email us, tnt@twit.tv, or give us a call on the old telephone POTS line. You can use VoIP too, 260-TNT-SHOW. John Strickland joins us on Monday. We'll see him and you then.